What's up? This is Ali Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talk House podcast. Today I'm joined by
Nick Dawson, editor-in-chief of Talk House Film. Yo! How are you?
Hello. Good to see you again, my friend. We have an amazing show for you listeners. The Flaming Lips, Stephen Drozd, in conversation with Adam Goldberg.
I love Adam Goldberg.
He's amazing.
He does it all. He's an actor, he's a director, he's a photographer, he's a musician. He has all kinds of fun on social media. You've seen him in Dazed and Confused, Saving Private Ryan, Friends. He was like Joey's annoying roommate, the one who's not Chandler, who's obviously not supposed to be annoying. And, he was in the first season of Fargo.
Mr. Numbers.
Yeah. And of course, he has a band previously called Landy, but now called the Goldberg Sisters, and they have a new record out. And who better to talk to him about this but his longtime friend and musical collaborator, Stephen Drozd of the Flaming Lips.
Absolutely one of the fucking sickest musicians in the game, Nick. I have to call it what it is. Known best as a drummer, because that's what he does with the band live. But in the studio, he is playing everything.
Guitar, drums, bass,
Keys,
piano.
yeah.
He's a boss.
He does it all.
So these guys talk about a lot. Obviously, they talk about the new Goldberg Sisters record, Home, A Nice Place to Visit.
Should we check out one of the tracks from that?
Let's check it out.
Here's The Kids Are All Wrong.
If I'm such a lame dinosaur sound, take me down. If I get up and I still come round, will you still be bound?
They also talk about the unique nature of this record. This is an album which is accompanied by basically a book of photography.
Right. We have over a dozen new photographs by Adam included in the liner notes here.
And I think it's really fascinating that he's done that, because one of the things they talk about is this thing of like having a sort of fractured identity as an artist, something that Adam definitely has and he's very, very conscious of, but Stephen Drozd does as well.
Nick, these are polymaths. These are Renaissance men.
They do it all.
They do it all, and they get into a lot here, including some shots fired about a certain Mark Maron interview Adam did recently.
All I'm going to say is what he did with that pineapple, that was wrong.
Wrong.
Notable that there were also shots fired about Albuquerque, which I think is like where Maron comes from. Unrelated, but possibly not. Who knows?
We hear all about how a 20-minute portion of Christmas on Mars pretty much tracks Stephen's whole drug addiction and recovery.
That movie is wild.
It's weird.
And of course, how can you live now and not talk about the two main things dominating our thoughts? Trump and, of course, technology and the way the internet affects our lives. They have a fascinating conversation about that as well.
We hear about their childhood obsessions with Kiss and Grease.
And Adam talks about why he's never watched either Breaking Bad or The Sopranos.
And going back in time a little bit, we hear all about Drozd's appearances on the classics 90210 and Charmed.
And we get to listen to Adam talking up for Stephen a bunch. Just, they're at peace with it, though. It works. Their relationship really...
I'm going to talk over you right now,
It's a
Nick.
beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Should we roll the tape?
Yeah, let's roll. And I think it starts with Adam trying out his radio voice.
Let's do it.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, hello, pal?
Hi, yeah, pal?
Hey, pal. Your voice sounds lower.
I know, I just lowered it an octave just because we're on the radio.
Is this your radio voice?
Yeah, I do a radio voice.
It's really good. It sounds you sound like a pundit of some kind.
Do I? Do I sound like a left-leaning MSM pundit? Or...
No, I was thinking a really National Review kind of just cold, very very measured. Right. Well, of course we can't say that anymore about those people, but those people.
Right. Yeah.
How's your drum
now,
fuse today?
now David Frum is a fucking bleeding heart liberal. Like that's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah. It's strange times, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad that I even mention anything remotely to do with the state of the political world right now.
Really? I mean, how are we going to avoid it? That's probably all we're going to talk about.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about analog delays and stuff like that.
We could do that. I think that Trump has been using the Pigtronics looper.
Through like a bit crusher and a gonkulator. He's using all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's good to hear your voice.
Nice to hear your voice too. At some point, though, I am going to run this through my Lo-Fi Loop Junkie.
I'll give you some. Turn down my. I have to turn down the volume on my phone. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, I'm also eating pretzels, which you're not supposed to do when you're recording.
What's that?
I can't stop eating pretzels, which is literally the stupidest thing you can do when you're in front of a microphone.
That kind of you get that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I did a Marin podcast once where it was like an abridged one where
Mark
I
Maron.
think it was to promote something, and he gave me fresh pineapple on the way in, and we were just hanging out talking. I mean, like before the thing, and eating fresh pineapple. And then I go in there and I got the fucking fresh pineapple and I'm eating the fresh pineapple, and then he like gives me shit about it, and then edits out the part where something had happened where basically people were giving me shit on Twitter for eating on the mic, and I'm like, dude, blame your fucking host. He cut the pineapple and fed it to me.
It sounds like a setup. It sounds like something Mark Maron thought about beforehand.
Yeah, he was trying to take me. He's been trying to take me down pretty much since I met him.
And you go to his garage, his house?
Yeah, although he moved.
So that's strike one right there, having to go to his house. He kind of gets the upper hand. So
I know. Well, of course he does. It's like a safe house when you go inside that thing.
Right. Was it in his actual garage like it is on the TV show?
Yeah, but on the TV show, it's like it's kind of like he's got like a little desk in the middle of this big room or something like that. It's just like a super cluttered office.
Right.
But he moved. He moved to Glendale, actually.
I don't know what that means. Is that like in the world of Los Angeles? Is that like a?
It's like where you go to die, I guess. But the thing is, it's not. It's actually where Roxanne and I have been thinking about moving. So I guess, like I said, it's where you go to die.
You guys are ready to go live and die. Live till you die.
Yeah. Live till you die. Yeah, that's what I think we're going to start doing.
Are you in the middle of doing a bunch of different things for the Goldberg Sisters record that's coming out, or is there something?
I don't know
else?
about. It's like some cross between that and literally they're like installing a TV upstairs because we moved on Saturday. So if you like hear hammering and footsteps and like guys chatting, it's because I'm in the quote unquote band space in this house, which is like probably the least soundproof place in the entire venue.
I've been told that if that happens, we'll have to repeat what we've said for just for editing purposes and stuff because they can't.
I think we just talk about the fact that I'm in a makeshift, that I left my my studio garage of 12 years, and now I'm in like a bar from 1935 or whenever this house was built that we stuck a bunch of instruments in. I mean, it's perfect.
So you guys have moved. You moved.
We moved. We did it on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I told you we sold the house, right?
Yeah, the old beautiful mid-century modern guy, whatever you'd call that. Yeah.
Yeah. That house, I lived in. I didn't really do the calculations till later, but I realized not only had I lived there longer than anywhere I had ever lived, but twice as long as I had ever lived anywhere as a kid. So whatever my childhood home was, I think I didn't live there longer than, one for 6 years, another for another 6 years. I didn't know you moved around so much when you were a kid. I know. I never really thought of it as moving around that much, really. But I guess when, my parents split up when I was 5. Then my mom moved into a guest house sitting for about a year. Then my dad moved out into a condo. I stayed with my dad. Then when my mom got settled, I moved back in with her and saw my dad on weekends. And then we moved out of that house when I was 13. And then we moved out of that house when I was 16. And we moved out of that house when I was 19, or she moved and I moved out, and started living my life, I guess. That's something we have in common. We have lots of moving in common. That's something else we have in common. Yeah. Well, this is why I think I didn't realize this. I sort of did because I have I don't know if I ever told you, but every couple of years I work with this organizer, and she kind of helps me declutter and come up with systems for all the photography gear and all the music gear, but really it's all a fancy way of saying I'm a hoarder. And so I really didn't. I mean, I've always said that kind of glibly and in a self-deprecating way, but as we were moving out, I was like, oh no, I really am a hoarder. I documented this for 2 days on Instagram. I don't know, it didn't start out as an episode of Hoarders, but I soon realized that's exactly what I was documenting.
Do you watch that show? Do you watch Hoarders?
Well, I used to watch it all the time. It's weird. It made me so uncomfortable and unhappy, but I couldn't turn it off.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Well, Becky is the person that keeps me from, like every 2 years, she makes me sit down, go through stuff and throw stuff out. It's pretty crazy what I'll keep. I'm sure the same for you, so.
Well, right. But I think, my mom's a shrink or whatever, but it doesn't take a shrink to tell you this. But I was in the middle of my garage, studio, whatever, going through all this shit. And I'm like, Mom, why am I this way? And, but it's, I think to try and maintain some connection to your past, if you've, to something solid, to something foundational when you don't feel like you've had maybe as much of that as you would have liked,
You've never moved from Los Angeles, have you, for any real period of time?
That's true. But there have been periods where I was living in New York where since we've known each other, where actually I didn't have a place in LA.
That's true, but short periods of time.
Yeah, short periods of time. Yeah.
To me, from the outside, it seemed like it was always a temporary thing until you were getting back to LA. Now, you were just in Albuquerque for a while, right?
Oh, God.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. I mean, sure, I don't want to single out a city and shit all over it, but but we could talk about it. I mean, I was there for 2.5 months. Roxanne, Bud, and I were there for 2.5 months last summer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, it was the dead of an incredibly hot summer, right?
Did you do the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul kind of tour? Did you do that?
No, they have a bus, an RV that literally takes you on that tour.
Is that right? Is that true?
Yep. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't watch more than a few episodes of Breaking Bad. We were living in New York. Roxanne and I was doing another show in New York, and we were catching up on Mad Men. Like it had been on for a couple of years already or something.
Yeah.
And we started watching all these Mad Men, and I was really first of all, two things were going on. I was having really acute anxiety issues. And by acute, of course, I don't mean adorable. But I was, they were sort of apexing, in this kind of terrible way during this period. But I found Mad Men kind of comforting. Whereas on the other hand, we were trying to do the same, and alternately we would watch a Mad Men episode and a Breaking Bad episode. And by the time, and this is nowhere, I think this is like the second episode, maybe the third. By the time the guy began oozing through the floor or whatever, I just couldn't do it. It was because we'd watch them at night. My nerves were all frazzled, and it was stressing us both out. I don't know anything about that culture.
Well,
I don't know anything about Better Call Saul.
When it first came out, I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, decided I couldn't watch it, didn't want to watch it. And then I thought the premise was so just ludicrously unbelievable.
Right.
And then like 5 years later, I don't know why, I ended up watching a couple episodes. I was bored, and then I ended up watching every episode over the course of about a month. I just binge watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was bad. I mean, I was watching it on my big television in the living room. I go into my studio, watch it on my computer. When I was in the kitchen doing the dishes, I would watch it Netflix on my phone, on my iPhone, while I was doing I was watching it constantly while I was awake for about a month. Becky was going to kill me, but so I watched it, and even though it is completely absurd, the whole setup of it, I got into it, and then I got it.
People obviously love it. Can I tell you something else? I never watched The Sopranos.
It's enjoyable. I mean, maybe not now, but it was back then, I think.
I watched the beginning. I mean, first of all, I'm always a dick when I first start watching something. Okay, because I'm always like...
Well, especially if other people love it, you're like, yeah, I don't think so.
I know, right, exactly. I don't even know that happened yet. I just remember watching the pilot for the first episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking, like, I don't need to watch this because, like, I'm a huge Scorsese fan. I just felt, I don't know, I just felt redundant to me somehow, Well,
if you could take one of those classic Scorsese movies and subdivide it into 50 parts, I mean, that would be one way of looking at it. But
of course, no, I'm not saying. And again, this is more of a commentary on my inability to sort of like let something breathe, But
by the way, that's an oversimplification of that. That's just one way of saying, I guess. But yeah, it's way more than that. But anyway.
No, I know. And as I began to see other episodes over time, I was like, oh, okay. But I never gave it that shot. And by that time, it was over. It just was too fucking late.
Yeah.
So like, I'd catch an episode in a hotel room and I'd be like, oh, I get it. This is really engaging. But I don't know where I am in the show. Mm-hmm. And fuck it, it's just too much. Because it's like, I'm trying to think of like there was, what's this movie? Years ago, I was watching, when I could still sit down and like watch a 3.5 hour foreign movie.
Before you had a child.
This is before I had like lost all attention span, period. And where I was like still passionate about things and like had like a zest for life. This is before I was dead inside, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. I remember that period. I remember.
Right, you remember that period? I feel like I met you between.
No, you were already dead inside when I met you, so it must have been before 2002, right?
Yeah, it was before 2003. What the fuck is this film? It's just a famous film, and I'm going completely blank.
American, French. What's?
I don't even remember. I mean, it's not even that I can't remember like the title. I'm trying to visualize myself sitting there watching. Anyway, it was one of those 2 DVD Criterion movies, and I was watching it and I was into it and whatever. But then something happened. Something like bifurcated the experience, where like I had to like go do something that night, and then that was it. And I never watched, and for the next year, I was like, God, I got to put that fucking second disc back in. But it's like it was getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer in my recollection, and I knew I was going to have to watch the first disc again, but I was so proud of myself for having gotten through the first disc. So anyway, the point is I never finished watching it.
I'm speechless on this thing, yeah.
Yeah.
If we were talking about The Sopranos, that I think it was just of that time. I think if you watched it now, you would just think it was just kind of square, and maybe it hasn't aged well. I don't, not that it was hip, but I guess it was kind of hip. The thing that turned me off was that Robbie Robertson theme song.
It felt groundbreaking at the time. It was groundbreaking because it was like it was a movie on TV, and now everything's a movie on TV.
Maybe it was one of the last great kind of like TV shows where you sat around the TV every Sunday night whenever it came. I remember when it first started, people would go over to Scott Booker's house, our manager. People would go to his house and gather on Sunday nights and watch it. It would like
the only time I ever did that in my entire life.
Twin Peaks
was Twin Peaks.
We did that in Austin in 1990. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. I used to go over to my friend's place in North Hollywood every single, what was that, Thursday or Tuesday?
I thought it was Saturday, but I thought we'd go out afterwards.
The second season was Saturday. I don't fucking know. Anyway.
Maybe we went out every night and I just thought it was a Saturday night, but that's probably
I think that's
closer
probably
to the truth.
it. But the other time I did it was for Melrose Place.
Oh. Were you on Melrose Place at any point?
No, I think I auditioned for 90210 once, but like for a guest star, but didn't get it.
Oh my God, that
sadly.
show! It's I made fun of it for the first 3 years, and then I got sucked into it.
And you were on it.
We were on it. Yeah, we were on it.
I mean, I totally just remember. As I was saying that, forgot that. But that was like a big deal, wasn't that like a big deal for you guys?
It was a big deal at the time. I remember a lot of like just people we knew either hated the idea so much, just couldn't believe we were going to do that, and then there were other people.
Why did they have you guys on it? I mean, was that it was Jelly, right?
She don't use Jelly. Here's the truth. Okay, we're pretty sure they asked like 4 bands before they asked us. So they asked like Smashing
Right.
Pumpkins. Whoever else would be like big right at that
Right.
time, and we would have been like
Right.
4th or 5th on the list, and we said, yeah, of course, because we like to do absurd, ludicrous things, and
Well, sure.
it actually ended up being a great. I hate to say feather in our cap because it's not really that, but it used to seem a bigger deal than it is now. Now it's just in the flurry of things that we've done that are just like,
Right, of
wow,
course.
they were
No,
on
that
Charmed too. We
Right.
By
Wait,
the time
you were
we
on
do
Charmed?
we were because see, I forgot that we were on Charmed till just now.
Oh my God! Wait, this actually seems sort of familiar to me, but
I knew you at the time. I think I hung out with you when we were shooting that episode. We came to Los Angeles for like 3 days toward the end of 2003 and shot an episode of Charmed.
oh my, yeah, I guess that's why I do remember it. But what did you guys play? What did you play on
Do
that?
you realize? I think we lip synced to Do You Realize?
Really?
And we were playing in a club, and the girls are having like some argument or something. The witches or whatever, the sisters. It's so
Yeah.
bad. So if that's like 9 or 10 years after we did Beverly Hills 90210,
Right.
whatever hip or unhip thing that seemed to have 90210. By the time we did the Charm thing, that was nothing. It was nothing. We got paid. We were on TV.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
but
it wasn't
didn't
Yeah.
But that's not why that song got as popular as it did, or was it the other way around? Was that
They
song
asked
already
us after
popular?
the song had gotten popular. Yeah, yeah.
I got it right.
The song
'Cause I was
didn't
gonna say,
become-
why? How would they know you guys? Because right. I get it. Yeah.
What are we talking about? Are there any guidelines for this conversation? Or are we just
No. Didn't they tell you there are no guidelines?
No, I didn't hear.
I was
anything,
told that
so-
specifically there was no guidelines, and to talk to you only about. Well, the only guideline I got was somehow bring up Darren Star TV shows, and so I brought up
we're most of the way there. I mean,
We're
what else
halfway
can
there.
we talk about?
And then, by the way, I was on a Darren Star TV show. I just remembered that. As I said those words, I realized. Wait, hold on. Now I'm having a freak out that Darren Star didn't do those shows. Did he do those shows?
Darren,
He did,
I thought
right?
so.
Yeah, he did Sex in the City, but I was thinking of him as Sex in the City because that's how I met him.
No,
as
no,
the
no.
guy
I thought
who
it was
doesn't-
Tori Spelling's dad. Aaron Spelling did 90210. right?
Yeah. But he was the executive producer. But
Oh,
I mean
I
the
see, the
actual
executive producer, yeah.
Because Darren was doing a show, created the show. Well, was executive producing the show called The Street, which I was on, which was supposed to be like the male Sex in the City, and that's when I moved to New York. When I really moved to New York before 9/11, before I met you. And that show was just was a failure, like every television show I've ever been on as a series regular. And but Darren was doing another show in Los Angeles for the CW about a Melrose Place type show that was like a parody of or whatever, like a behind the scenes making of a show like that. Anyway, at the end of the day, what can I tell you? I've been to Darren Starr's beach house in the Hamptons. Like that's all you need to know.
That's up there as far as if you had, I guess, interesting stories about being famous or meeting famous people, that would kind of be.
No, I don't think I would even have remembered that had we not been discussing this.
I thought you were going to call me out on that. Yeah. It's like fucking Darren Star.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think there's some good Chris Walken stories. I think that would probably take precedent.
Absolutely.
None of which I can really probably divulge.
Well, didn't you have the? I'm confused. Oh no, I'm confusing my celebrity friends. You're a celebrity friend, Adam. You're a celebrity friend.
Yeah, I know who you're confusing me with. You're probably confusing me with Natasha's boyfriend.
Who's
right?
Natasha's boyfriend?
You know, my ex-girlfriend's boyfriend.
Oh, Fred Armisen, right?
Yeah.
That's right. He's with Natasha now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not confusing it with him. I thought you had a walk-in impress.
What's funny is remember when Natasha asked me if you were single?
I'm telling you, it was about Cliff, not me.
It wasn't Cliff, dude. You were known as the drummer. Cliff wasn't known as the drummer at that point. It was just that Cliff was drumming if you went to go see you play live.
Right.
But you're known as the drummer. I know you don't. I mean, we can actually let's discuss that.
Okay.
That's actually here's a good pivot point.
That is a great pivot point. Let's talk about me for a little while.
No, seriously though, because is that like a thing that bugged you, being known as the drummer? Because you were a multi-instrumentalist and instrumental in the makings of these songs, and in a fundamental way. Not that drummers can't be.
No, I mean,
but,
it just sounds like I'm making a joke, but my ego has been pretty destroyed over the last many years. At least that's what I think. I just think there's confusion because when I was in the band for the first several years, I was, the guy that played drums when you came to see the band. So
right.
I understand that. You'll see listings places where it says drummer and it'll say my name, and I'm like, okay, well, even though there are two other drummers in the group, I think it's just too complicated for people to try to
I know
put
people
in
need to
categories.
have one. People need to have one definition.
Yeah,
But,
it's
I mean,
just too
in
complicated.
a weird way, we're in somewhat similar situations. I mean, I'm obviously, if I'm known as anything, it's an actor, and then there are these other things which I do, and it becomes difficult for people to sort of. It's just much easier for people to compartmentalize.
I mean, you do so many things. You act in movies, you write stuff. You've made a movie or two. You are a photographer you're a pretty serious photographer. I wouldn't say you take yourself too seriously, but
I'm serious about it. Yeah.
Okay, you create a lot of stuff and a lot of.
I make shit.
Yeah, you're an artist in that sense. You really do a lot of creating.
I like making stuff. Yeah, I wish I didn't. I wish that I didn't. Well, I wish I didn't want to. I think is really more what I'm trying to say.
You should. You shouldn't say that. That's
No,
just,
I know. Now you sound like my cognitive behavioral therapist. I know I'm not supposed to say stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Wouldn't it be nice just to like have like this one thing, and like that's what you do, and you're like really good at it. I mean, you're basically like that, except that you do a lot of those things like really, really well. Like you're really amazing at every single instrument you play, whereas I can comp a bunch of takes together and then go out and snap a picture.
Right. Well, I disagree. I wish that I want to say right, but every time I write something, I read it 6 months later. I'm like, well, I can't write, so I'm not going to write. So
Well, you always had a thing because you like you're okay. First of all, you're fun. I was about to say this is what I was going to say. You like the humor world. That's literally what was going to come out of my mouth, as though that means anything.
I like things that are funny. See,
I know. You
and
like
that's
to
why I'm
laugh.
surprised we can be friends because I like things that are funny. No.
Exactly.
No, you're one of the funniest people I know.
But you talked about like how that's like a world that you wish that you kind of were actively creative in, right? I mean,
For sure, yeah, for sure.
yeah. I think
find
that
it
you could be.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But literally when we have spent hours and hours and hours together, we've laughed the entire. I mean, whatever. Not that us making each other laugh is the criteria for someone going into that as a career or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, the point is that that is a whole part of you. I mean, you're an incredible. It's like if someone were to listen just to the music that you made, I don't think that they would say, "Oh, that guy must have a really silly sense of humor." Do you know what I mean? Although there is something to that, you know.
Right.
And so it's just interesting how you know, again, how I think how it's just so easy to kind of compartmentalize people. And I don't think anybody is really, you know, some people are going to be more, I suppose, diversified in the things that they maybe do to pursue a living, but that doesn't mean that they're not actually, you know, these totally, you know, well-rounded, interesting, complex people that are constantly sort of put into boxes, whether or not you're a creative person or not, even if you're just, you know, someone who, you know, has a job at an office or whatever, but that's not what defines who that human being is, you know. But sometimes it makes you feel like it does, because that's where you're spending most of your fucking time, you know, behind a desk, you know. I don't know what I'm getting at, but I'm starting to feel depressed.
When you have to do like say official press or whatever, or you're trying to do official press, or you're trying to promote something like your record or whatever you're working on. I mean, do you think people are aware that you do all these things kind of equally? It's just that you are professionally known more as being in the movie world than say for photography, but you probably could release.
That's what I'm doing.
A book of photography, and then
that's what I'm doing with this record. I mean, to be honest, this record, I don't know if this record is a book that has LPs in it, or if it's an LP that has a book in it, because it was always conceived not in some conceptual way, not in a you know, the lamb lays down on Broadway kind of way.
Right.
But the idea is that I didn't want to go about this the same way I had done, you know, these other records where, you know, you make the record, you hire a publicist or you get a label or whatever, you know, either. And
you're trying to
you
make
hit up
it,
the same
you're
people.
Trying to make it more of a thing. You want to make it more of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, why not? I mean, my whole point is I lose money on this shit no matter what I do. You know, it's not, I don't know how at this point to make a living doing this. However, the point is that I actually think if you do what you really love to do and you kind of ignore the rules, you'll actually find that you're sort of accidentally commodifying the things that you're most passionate about. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, in this case, I'm making this photography book or whatever. I have a better chance of probably physically selling that product and doing an exhibition of the photography and selling those prints than I do of someone going to Spotify and listening to this, you know, record.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
And even if it's 500 people, if those 500 people are like really excited to own and interact with that piece, then that to me is it kind of makes it completely worth it, and it doesn't feel like you're just sort of dropping this like weird digital, you know, pebble into this just like vast, you know, internet ocean.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, you're making something that could be absolutely unique in that, say, do you know of any other, I can't think of any off the top of my head where it's a musical,
not a lot.
It's a musical thing whether it be a compact disc or a piece of vinyl or an 8-track tape or reel-to-reel or whatever it is that exists with like a book of photography.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly Googled it a lot because we've been looking for templates just literally to design it, and I've had an incredibly hard time doing that. And so, I've been talking with different people about how to go about just quite literally packaging the thing. And it's not like there's just some template sitting around for that. So,
There's not,
But
yeah.
the idea, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to be unique or whatever. It's just that I have a lot to say, and I might as well sort of, and the music and the photography thing is sort of, I don't know. I feel like it kind of exercises similar muscles, and honestly consumes much more of my creative imagination and space and actual physical time than my acting does. The acting stuff you can do 3 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year, and if it's a decent enough job, you can kind of make your way through the year. And then blow all that money on making the record and spending an insane amount on expired film and large format cameras. But, I keep talking about other people defining you and how difficult it is to have other people define and pigeonhole you. But the truth of the matter is I do that to myself. Like, I want there to be a name for what it is. Like, when I grew up, I was half Jewish. I wanted to just be either Jewish or a Catholic. But being both, or being, I mean, I wasn't Catholic, but my mother was brought up Catholic. So being half, whatever, Gentile
Right. Yeah,
and half Jewish, it's like I just wanted to own one of them. Do you know what I mean? And have something that was just easily identifiable, because I felt so confused. Like who was I? This like kind of like this kind of weird creature in Los Angeles, and I didn't feel I belonged here, and blah blah blah. So anyway, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is it's cool to be the drummer.
Thanks for whittling down my hopes and dreams into just when I was a little kid, my first thing wasn't being a drummer. I just wanted to be in Kiss, and I didn't know what.
Oh, you wanted to be in Kiss
when I was like 7. When I was 7 years old, I wanted to be in Kiss, and then
Why
my dad.
Kiss? It's just such a different, like, all these guys were into that, and I guess I just wasn't. Like, I was at 7 years old. I was like into.
You were watching Peter Bogdanovich movies, I know. So listening to Velvet Underground records, I know.
At 7, no, I wasn't that cool. I was like into Grease.
Well, that says a lot right there. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I was into Grease too, but not like I was into Kiss. I mean, I loved that. I've seen Grease at least 30 times, whatever. But
Yeah.
did you like? What did you like about Grease so much?
I don't know, man. I just
It's almost
thought it was
as
the
cartoonish
coolest.
as Kiss in some ways,
Oh
but-
yeah, no, I went right out and I bought Grease. I bought some like it wasn't Murray's, but it was like Royal something jelly hair bomb.
Oh, was it? Oh, what was that called? I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was in the Royal Crown.
Royal
No,
Crown
that's-
was what it was called.
Royal Crown, right? It was in a red tin.
It was a red
And
tin with a tin top, and it was really,
That's
really
right.
greasy.
That's
yeah.
right. And I greased the shit out of my hair, and I got on my bicycle, and I rode down the street. I think I had a dorky triangular orange radio, okay, on my
Yeah.
bicycle. Which, by the way, the only memory I actually have of singing to a song on that bicycle is Reunited.
Hey, I love Peaches and Herbs.
No, so do I.
Reunited.
All
Yeah.
this shit came around later on where I was like, all this shit that I thought was like totally embarrassing, and I didn't want to like obviously like talk about my totally funky, taste in my parents' music when I was like, 9 years old. Like, of course, is now the music I want to make,
Well, and you thought, man, I can't really tell anybody about this, and then turns out thousands of people thought the same thing. So,
It's the coolest thing ever. I know, but
let me go
But
back
the
to
idea of
Kiss.
this little kid go on.
The bummer about Kiss is that they've done so much since that time that's so awful.
Right,
That the
right.
cool Kiss is such a small little crumb in their whole big existence.
It is. It's like the Dazed and Confused Kiss. It's like I didn't like. No, but I mean, right? It's like whatever. What song was in that movie?
Rock and Roll All Night, probably.
School's Out.
Oh, School's Out by Alice Cooper. That's Alice Cooper.
Oh, that's Alice Cooper. See, that goes to show you. Like my
Oh, no, it's
fucking,
No More Mr. Nice Guys. And
No More
and-
Mr. Nice Guy. Right.
Yeah. Alice Cooper, yeah. Great song.
Anyway, the point is that like I only got that there was cool Kiss like much later on, like in the night, like when I was listening to whatever alt rock and had alt rock pals, and they're
Yeah.
all like going back and listening to this. I mean, I grew up around these guys listening to all that shit. I just was like, I don't get it, and they like Heschers and all that. They all scared me.
Yeah, I know, and that's horrible, and I hated that because I experienced that in junior high and high school too. I mean, I had to hide the fact that I liked Culture Club because I'd get my ass beat.
Oh
but,
yeah, totally. No, but I mean, Pink Floyd.
But when
like,
you're
I didn't
7,
even,
everyone loved Kiss, and you could dress up
Right,
like
right.
Kiss. And if you go back,
I guess
and
I
listen to
remember that. I guess I remember that.
Well, that's
I think
why I
they
wanted to
freaked
do
me
it
out a
first,
little
yeah.
bit, though. I
It
think they
freaked you
scared
out?
me.
I had 2 older brothers though, so
Oh right, yeah. I didn't. I was an only child, and no, I was very lonely.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
okay.
sorry. I'm glad you finally found your sister though. That's great. So,
I know, cool, right?
Finally found your
it just-
sister and can open that
yeah.
up.
So no, that's it's like we're gonna be on the Oprah network and reunite.
But I wanted to be in Kiss, and then I got my dad bought me a snare drum and a bass drum and a cymbal. And after just a little bit of playing that, I realized, well, I think I can do this, even though I can't really play guitar. I can do this, and so that's one thing led to another, and I didn't.
Okay, but like I was 11 when I got my first Remo 5-piece drum kit.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about?
I knew exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
That was like a little white kit. How come I didn't end up being a really good drummer?
I don't.
I sat in my living room and I drummed all day long.
I'm going to quote you: commitment to craft.
Commitment to craft.
Do you remember that?
I used to say that to you, like what? After you'd have to do a second take of like some incredibly complex vocal harmony you were doing.
No, it was when we were doing Christmas on Mars.
Oh, right. When I would do a take.
And you've got like
Right.
this 3-minute speech, and all I have to do is nod and go yes, and I yawn. I yawn in the middle of it, and you're like, dude. First of all, I memorized my lines. Second of all, I emoted something, and you're sitting there with this blank stare, and then you actually yawn in the middle of it. And Wayne's like, "That's cool. It's okay. It's a take." You're like, "He yawned," and Wayne's like, "Now we're moving on." I'm like, okay, he's definitely. It's like the Plan 9 of Outer Space of indie rock Christmas Martian space.
Where
films.
does that film live in the lexicon of like and even like even the Flaming Lips culture? Like I always think of that as like I'm like proud of having been a part of that, but I don't really know where it lives in that culture. I just know that it was like a fucking cool thing.
We don't really talk about it much anymore. No.
But I mean, like, are there people who are like really into it? Like, did it?
Oh
did
yeah.
It, yeah.
Oh yeah. We run into people all the time that are just like, we watch that movie every Christmas, and I'm like, really?
Every Christmas, it's like they have to watch it on Christmas.
I mean, even Wayne's like, oh, that's cool, And then I remember I was on IFC like 3 Christmases in a row, and I was like, wow, this is wild.
Oh shit, man! That's probably more times than I've been in any other movie on IFC. Was in your movie. That's fucking sad, really, is what that is.
No, it is a weird, I mean, I don't know, Ed Wood and David Lynch and something else, and I don't know, it's just a weird.
No, it was amazing, and probably the worst continuity in the history of movies. Like worse than I always used to say before that.
Yeah, you see me gain 30 pounds in like 7 minutes of the film. I mean, it's so,
amazing.
I don't know.
Because
I love it though, yeah.
Yeah, are you kidding? No, that's more like it's a fucking whatever. It's a cultural document at this point. It's as much a documentary as it is anything, right? Because it's covered so many seasons in your kind of like
I remember
life
someone
and
wrote
career.
like we see drugs ravage Stephen Drozd and then him get off drugs and gain 30 pounds in the course of like 15 minutes in this film.
Yeah, I know. It's like the document. It's like Fearless Freaks, except without having to watch all of Fearless Freaks.
Oh my god,
which is also a goddamn good rock documentary, I have to say.
I haven't seen that in a while. I don't know. God, it seems like. Can we talk about how? Well, let's see. You and I have known each other, what, 15 years now? That's
Jesus, I was going to say 12 because I thought it was 2015, but you're right, it's 2018.
It is 2018. I'd like to go back to 2015, but we can't do that now.
Why?
We don't have the technology. People, this whole Instagram thing was, the Facebook, some kind of Freudian slip. This whole Facebook thing was happening, and I've been wanting to get off of it for about 6 months, and I finally did it. And I feel a lot better, even though I hadn't really been on it, But
I know. I wanted to get off it because I just wasn't using it, and I never really liked it, and I didn't even get it when I had it. Like I just was never one of those things where I really caught on to Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram made sense to me ultimately, even though in the beginning I was annoyed by all these photo filters. but Facebook I just found totally non-intuitive. It wasn't like I was being judgy about it. I just couldn't crack it. I didn't get it. I couldn't see how to communicate with people well. It's the feeds seemed like they were a mess. The back end was confusing as hell. And it just seemed like a quagmire. And then I kept trying to do creative things with it, and I was like, it just isn't the place for it, you know?
No, if you want to share like a prayer with someone, a relative or something, you can do that. But anything beyond that is difficult.
My cat died, thumbs up.
And people are like, dude, Facebook owns Instagram. I'm like, I know, but I still feel good about just cutting that loose, and I just
I know. No, we're all. Look, the information is the information, and like I don't like the fact that I Google something and 5 minutes later I'm on Instagram, and I literally the chair I Googled is being fucking sold to me on Instagram. I mean, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
But at the same time, at least it's just an unnecessary complication.
I was resistant to log into Google Maps like as my Gmail Gmail self. And I finally did, and now I'm like, tell us about your experience being parked at such and such and such street. I'm like,
Jesus
oh my God, it's not even a place of business. I was parked somewhere, and they're asking me to review where I parked. It's frightening. I mean, it's frightening.
You should review where you parked, though.
Seriously, how was your experience at like 2953?
It was pretty good, but I couldn't tell. I felt like I was like a few inches into the red, but it's hard to tell. They have to repaint that part of the sidewalk so they can really delineate the red from the white. I mean, this is a problem I encounter often.
I was harassed by a drifter at this location. Bad review, scathing Yelp review.
I was harassed by a drifter. Oh my God! Yeah, no, you picked up a drifter to get an erection at that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, on a different note, but not really. Yeah. So yesterday we lost all of our internet and TV and digital landline services or whatever, and it felt like the world had come to an end. It just the kids.
Well, we
had
moved
to play
on Saturday.
board game. Yeah.
No, we haven't had internet. We haven't had TV. But we've had, it's so stupid because I have had that because I've just been using my phone as a hotspot. So I've totally had that.
That's
you can
rough.
listen to the news on your phone, and you can pretty much do anything. I don't know who I'm kidding. But even that amount of being in like the weird, sort of like digital, graveyard or whatever or desert is just so fucking weird feeling, man. I have a problem. Like I've been talking to my shrink about it. It's a problem. Like he wants me to keep my phone in a different room and shit.
Well, that makes sense. There are guidelines they say you should live by. Don't look at your phone screen for like 45 minutes before you go to sleep. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We did take a vacation to close to the Ozarks last year, and we didn't have any electronics for about 4 days. And actually, it was enjoyable once the kids and us knew that we were actually doing that. It wasn't an accident. We kind of planned for it, and it was kind of pleasant. But
it is pleasant.
Yeah.
I mean, but what did we used to do? I mean, because here's the thing. It's like you and I were the same age, and we were into all kinds of crazy bits of pop culture, or not crazy. We were purveyors of pop culture before there was a really super accessible way of doing it. Like you'd literally have to go to the Museum of Television, like no joke. Like if you wanted to see like an old I Love Lucy episode or whatever.
Three's Company or something, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, and so what the fuck did we do? We seemed fine, weren't we fine?
Well, we were. I think you just created a lot more stuff for yourself to do. I did. This sounds so just, I don't know, lame to say, but yeah, I read a lot. I'm sure you read a lot. I listened to a lot of cassettes and 8-tracks before that, and records. And I mean, I would sit and even if I didn't have a drum set, I would just sit there and drum on my bed for a couple hours, and that would be entertaining to me. So, I know.
Right. Although I guess even as a kid, I watched too much. Like that just reminded me of sitting in front of MTV when it first came on, and drumming drumming on the couch to every single song. But for some reason, all I can think of right now is George Thorogood's "Bad to the Bone." So anyway,
well,
all right. Listen, Stephen.
Maybe there'll be a part 2 of this. Maybe we can do a part 2, like
I think we have part 2 and 3 in this already.
Maybe not. Maybe we could.
I think there already is a built-in part 2 and 3. I think we did 3 parts. I think this was a podcast in 3 acts.
They're like, well, we'll see, guys. We're thinking it's got about 7 minutes worth of valuable, usable stuff.
I would. Can I just add though that before anybody else tells me, so I do know that I was talking over Steven a lot. It's not only a problem that I have; it's just that I get nervous that there's not going to be enough material, and so that I frantically feel like I need to fill the space. Just now, having said that, I feel like we can part ways.
I think we've both become comfortable with that relationship over the years. So,
What, my domineering?
like I remember you'd pick me up at the airport or whatever if I first blew into town when you had more time on your hands, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd jump in what was your big cruiser car? What was that?
Oh well, I had so many. The Marauder,
cop car.
maybe.
The Marauder.
Well, I had
yeah.
a Marauder, and then before that, a Crown Vic. Yeah.
Crown Victoria, yeah. And you'd pick me up, and you'd be chain smoking, and you'd just go right into all the troubles, you know, that were happening. That was always a wonderful time. So.
Well, it's because I don't talk to you that much, so I feel like I got to download you, and then it's like a compulsive need to download everything,
Right.
and then I feel like we can go on and enjoy our day in a more, cohabitative sort of way. Do you know what I mean?
More give and take after the first flurry of just complete insanity. Not insanity,
sorry.
but yeah, no.
God, I'm gonna really reflect on that. I'm sorry.
Well, I love you. I'm glad we got a chance to talk. For
I
a
love
while.
you too. I want to see you in person, obviously, but we'll deal with that.
We will.
at a later juncture. And on that note,
Yeah.
I give a big hug to Bex and kiss and hug and kiss your kids, but not in a weird way because they don't know me that well and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. I was going to worry, but all right. Well, love to Roxanne and Bud,
All right.
and keep
All
up
right.
the good
Thank you,
work.
pal. Thank you, pal. You too. I miss you.
All right. Take care, buddy.
All right, buddy. Okay, bye.
Stephen Drozd, Adam Goldberg on the Talkhouse podcast, crushing it.
Crushing it. Thanks so much to Dan Epstein for recording Steven in Oklahoma City.
And Gideon Brower for recording Adam in LA.
Shouts to our co-producer, Mark Yoshizumi.
The man behind the boards who makes us who we are. If you enjoyed today's episode, which I know you did.
I'm guessing you did. You're still here.
You're still here. You did it. Go check out Stephen Drozd writing about dirty beaches on talkhouse.com.
Also, make sure to check out Wayne Coyne, frontman of the Flaming Lips, in conversation with the legendary hip-hop producer Prince Paul. You can watch the full video of that talk over on our YouTube channel.
Go check out all of our destinations. Facebook,
Twitter.
Instagram, and like you said, YouTube, and of course, talkhouse.com, where it's just like daily written goodness from so many of our contributors.
Make sure to subscribe to the Talkhouse podcast to catch upcoming episodes, including Broad City's Abby Jacobson in conversation with Samantha Irby, and just recorded at a live event at Rough Trade in London, the Raincoats and Proto-Martyr in conversation.
Can't wait for those.
Till then, I'm Elliot Einhorn.
I'm Nick Dawson.
Peace.